Shalom. Call Haloyam La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Kudash. Bakata Yahweh, Bakata Yahweh Shai, Bakata Racha Kudash, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Kudash. Shalom and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elder bishops and the elders in the Akim and the Aquathium of the hopeful elect. Shalom. I want to go into a quick video entitled Who's That Ravenous Dragon in Revelation. So when you get the definition for the word ravenous here, it says what? Extremely hungry. So who is this extremely hungry red dragon? So right here, we'll start in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. The red dragon, Satan. So the red dragon is not, it's not literally Satan, but it's of Satan. It is Satan because of the spirit. It's after the spirit of Satan. It has the same spirit, right? Because his coming is after the working of Satan. So verse 3 here says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. So that's key to a red dragon. So having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. And so in the previous couple videos, I went into the 3 unclean, the three frogs, and then the last video was what the beast 7 horns and 10 heads and 7 heads and 10 horns. And so right here you want to get I want to go into like this red dragon, to break it down through the scriptures, and with a little bit of scholastic scholarly sources. Well, a scholarly source to back the claims of the Holy Scriptures, to aid it. So we'll go, let's see, so, okay, let's see. Okay, let's read this verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. So that third part goes into 3. And so we know the southern kingdom represented Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So that's the third part of the stars, of the 12 stars, the 12 tribes. So a third of 12 is 3. And did cast them, Slakia, and did cast them to the earth. So that means what? Ended the Romans ended Jerusalem, from having their homeland, being in their homeland. So, and did cast them to the earth because you're elevated, you're in a heavenly state, when you have your own sovereign land, right? Even though we were oppressed and had to pay taxes into Caesar, right? That's why Yahushua told the wicked Pharisees, give unto Caesar what is Caesar, and to the heavenly Father, and to the Lord, and what's due unto the Lord. We have to serve our oppression, whatever it is, because it's of the Lord. And we were in that condition because we were wicked and we went off, and we have to do that. So we have to take care of our responsibilities in captivity and oppression, right? So, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered. And that woman represents Israel. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And that's that ravenous red dragon looking to devour, and destroy, murder the Messiah Yahushua. This is a dark saying for speaking about, when Mary gave birth to Yahushua. So this dragon is the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire revised is who? America. So we go to Matthew chapter 2 and verse 13. It says right here, the flight to Egypt. And that was a key tactic that we used of the Israelites, chiefly the Jews, because, King David fled into the mountains, and Africa to flee away from persecution from his own wicked son and all of the wicked allies that joined into the traitors that joined into his wicked son to try to take the throne, right? And then also this is for Mary and Joseph and Mary, and it was a tactic that we use many times, as we'll read here further. So it says in verse 13, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother. That's Yahushua and Mary, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And that show you too, that's a nugget right there as well. In the worst times in the history of mankind coming up soon here in the end days here, you better believe the Most High is going to, communicate with his elect and show divine miracles again, Because if the Most High showed wonders and miracles and spoke to us in the past in less evil days, how much more in the most evil days, right? It says, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And that's that ravenous, hungry, extremely hungry dragon, the Roman Empire, headed by Herod at the time, right? And so we get Herod right here. Let's see. Herod. Heroic, yeah. Wicked. So the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the time of Mashiach and the apostles. Herod, so-called great, was the son of Antipater of Idumea. You see, Herod here, he was the son of an Idumean, Antipater, Idumea. And we know Idumea is another way of saying Edom, the Greek to English translation of Edom. So Herod, he's an Edomite. You see, Herod is an Edomite. So if that dragon stood before the woman, stood before Israel, waiting to devour the Messiah, and then we read the account of Herod, a Roman, and Herod is broken down, letting us know that he is a Edomite. He's the son of an Edomite, right? Antipater, he's an Edomite, and you are of your father, the seed of your father, and he's an Edomite as well. So that dragon is talking about the Edomites, the so-called white race, the Romans at the time, and they changed their name as the fugitive and vagabond of the earth, as prophesied that he is, right? That's what a fugitive does. He changes his identity. The jackal, and a chameleon, that fox that Yahushua spoke of, right? As Yahushua said, you tell that fox, that's a fugitive and a slick, slithery, deceitful snake. So let's see. So it said to flee into Egypt, to escape that Roman persecution of Herod that was trying to murder Yahushua. So let's get this pick right quick. This is from the book from Babylon to Timbuktu. You see at the top up here, from Babylon to Timbuktu. We'll read the beginning of the first paragraph. I mean, not the first, the second one right here. So right here it says what? In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state. It's not Jewish though, the Jew state, with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. It's like if I'm going back and forth, just the way I can do it. So right here it says, during the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. So you see, 1 million Jews fled into Africa. That was another time right here showing that that was a tactic that we use when we are outnumbered. We're when an army come against us and we're getting getting out, we're losing a battle, we will flee to the mountains, flee to Africa to escape the persecution. So fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jew slaves. You see, so 1 million Jews in around 70 AD fled into Africa, and then they settled on the west coast of Africa, and they were there for about 1,500 years until, 1,600 years until when the transatlantic the transatlantic slave trade, the West African slave trade, which brought us from over there to over here. So that's why we were in the west coast of Africa when they rounded us up with the so-called Africans who are Hamites. They rounded us up, and they wasn't grabbing other Africans. It was the so-called Africans linking up with the so-called the European, the Edomite, so-called white man, rounding up the Jews that had settled from that ancient fleeing from Roman persecution in 70 A.D. So right here, see, even this scholar here, he's not a Israelite. He's a so-called black man. He did research. The man that wrote this book, and from his findings and his research, he realized, that this was fulfilling biblical prophecy. So he quoted the scripture right here. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." That wood and stone, that wood cross of wicked Christianity, and that stone, that the cobblestone, Muslim and Islam, and that's Deuteronomy 28:64. That's the chapter of the curses that every curse applies to us, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians, and that's how that's a great reason. That's a great example and proof and evidence that who the children of Israel are. So that's what happened. That's right there in 70 A.D. Because from the period of there's a thing when you Google the Jewish Roman Wars, that'll pull up the information. It was like a period of 7 years, where we was in a battle with the Roman armies, and they had took us down, and that was biblical prophecy of Daniel chapter 9 as well, the 70 weeks prophecy. But reading on here, so we'll go to Luke chapter 21 and verse 20. And this is Yahushua speaking. "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." So what armies is this? This is the Roman armies that we read, even in that scholarly book from Babylon to Timbuktu. It's prophecy coming to pass. Yahushua gave the prophecy, and he knew what was going to happen. "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." That's the desolation of abomination. Verse 21. "Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains." You see, that's one of our tactics, to flee into the mountains. Flee where? Into Africa. Because Yahushua is a baby. His dad, his father Joseph, and his mother Mary used that same tactic, to flee from Herod. "And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto." Enter thereinto. So this is the Most High's judgment upon the Israelites, and that's the prophecy. Right, we just read it in the book from Babylon to Timbuktu. The prophecy came to pass that Yahushua right here prophesied of, and we that was the 70 A.D. prophecy of us fleeing into the mountains, into Africa. Over 1 million Jews was reported had fled into Africa, and that's where we were. We migrated through Africa and settled on the west coast, of Africa, until we got rounded up in slavery in 1619 and taken on those slave ships from West Africa to America. So Revelation 12:4. "And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven." So now you can get the proper context on what this is talking about. His tail, the red dragon's tail, and it drew a third part of the stars, and and the 12 stars of heaven. The 12 stars is the 12 tribes of Israel. A third is 3. So the tribe of the southern kingdom, the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman. You see, that's the Roman Empire. That was Herod, you know. When you speak about any Edomite, that they're a part of the red dragon. And the dragon stood before the woman, you know, Israel, and then also, you know, and when you get even more scrutinize it even more, it's talking about Mary, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child Yahushua as soon as it was born. So it's talking about Yahushua, and we that's how you put it all together right there. That's how you know who that ravenous red dragon is. So now we'll go to see that great red dragon. So now we'll go to, let's see. We get the word red here. Let me double check. Having the color of fire, red. You know, that's going into a very wroth, savage, ferocious beast. The so-called white man, that's what he is. That mountain on fire in the sea, in the ocean. One of those trumpets, I believe, or one of those seals. You know, Spain coming to the Americas to take down the Northern Kingdom and steal the Western Hemisphere, America. So now we'll go to let's go to Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. So a very hairy red baby was the first baby of the twins inside of Rebecca, right? Esau and Jacob. And they called his name Esau. So when the first child came out red all over of Esau as infant. So let's go into Esau. He's hairy. He's red all over. And you know that the so-called white man, you know, when they don't shave, you know, that they're very hairy. So they're the hairy people like Bigfoot, right? If they go a month, 2 months, 3 months, forget about it. You know, they're going to be extremely, extremely hairy. You know, so that's why they shave all the time, because their hair grows back real fast, and they want to have the illusion of why they call it clean cut. You know, but their spirit and their inside not clean, but they try to clean the outside. You know, to try to and people fall for it, thinking that. So he brainwashes everyone to think that, brain pollutes them to think that a man with that's clean shaven, you can trust him. You know, when that's a very carnal, simple man to think that someone that's clean shaven is good and he's pure. But then they see a brother with a rough beard, and they look down on him thinking that he's something evil, right? That show you how stupid and how narrow-minded society is as a whole. You know, these Babylonians, everyone of that same mindset. So called him Esau. And let's get verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage. And that red pottage is bloody, you know, because it wasn't done yet. You know, that red meat, and the pottage was bloody. And then so, you know, he was cooking it. And you have to cook your food thoroughly, right? As the Most High, as a commandment. You're not supposed to eat the blood wherein is the life, you know. And that's why they have Esau. Everything the Most High says, he does the opposite, and he justifies it, right? And he says a medium rare, halfway cooked and under halfway cooked, damn near raw steak is supposed to be healthy and to keep it juicy, right? You know, as filthy, as that's, you know, an abomination to be eating bloody food. So he wanted that bloody food that wasn't cooked all the way yet. For I am faint, therefore was his name called Edom. So you get that word Edom. See means red. See the red people. And that's that red dragon. Say Edom, Edomite. See Idumean. See it said when we read in the New Testament about Herod, his father Antipater the Idumean. And you see, Idumea Idumean is another way to say Edomite. And see, descendants of Esau. So that great red dragon in Revelation is who? Esau, Edom. Herod is what? An Idumean, aka Edomite, a child, a descendant of Esau. Land of Edom, Idumea. Land south and southeast of Palestine. You see? So that's that lets you know right there. That's how you put it together. That Esau, Edom is the red dragon of Revelation. Herod, the dragon, tried to devour her child, the Israelites' child. The only child the child notable is Yahweh, the Messiah. So we'll get let's see, verse 34 right here. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. This is Esau. Thus Esau despised his birthright. See, because the birthright goes into what? You're going to inherit something, and you have to have what? Patience and wait to inherit something. We know that the so-called white race, they are the most impatient microwave society, microwave people on earth. They don't have any patience, right? He said, what shall this birthright do to me if I die of hunger, right? So he despised it. He's so carnal, he's so short-sighted, so he sold his birthright for rulership for eternity for one meal, and he'll be hungry again a few hours later, right? He sold eternity for a momentary meal. Man, that's you put it in that context, show you how unfathomably foolish and stupid the so-called white man is. But it was prophesied, the Most High prophesied what? That the elder shall serve the younger. Who's the elder? Esau. Esau came out first, hairy like a red garment, right? Red, hairy all over, right? So, roughly paraphrasing. So, it was always meant for Jacob to receive the eternal rulership of earth for eternity in heaven with Yahweh. And when Rebecca, she helped Jacob get the birthright, and Esau knows the scriptures like that. He read it. That's why he tries to destroy the so-called black woman and has flipped the black woman to loving him and hating her brother, because she knows the power. Because Esau knows the power of the so-called black woman, so-called Israel, and the Israelite woman, the strength. How powerful the so-called black man, the Israelite man, is when his woman is there to aid him and support him in the office of support, because she supported Jacob in getting the birthright, right? So Revelation 12 and 9. And the serpent from the garden, that's that snake, he grew into that red dragon, the beguiled Eve, the so-called black woman, then to trick Adam, and he's beguiled Eve now in these last days, and got the black woman calling herself boss bitch and all of this stuff, right? Independent woman, she don't need a man, and all of this madness. The feminist woman now. That's what it's morphed into. The so-called white man has morphed into this red dragon and a ferocious beast now, and the so-called black woman and so-called Latino and Native American Indian woman has morphed into this feminist monster now. And they will receive punishment for that. So now what? Revelations 12 and 9. Let's see, go back to Revelation 12 and 3 first. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Now that we know this red dragon is that serpent from the garden that's morphed over these years, and he's at the apex of his power. He's like a person that trains, a fighter that trains. When he first began, he's at his worst form. When he first began training as a fighter, like Mike Tyson. He wasn't Mike Tyson in the beginning. He had to develop into that ferocious, fearsome heavyweight fighter, right? Same way with the snake, with the serpent. He was a little smaller in the beginning, but still had that gift, that skill of trickery and deceit. over the centuries, over the thousands of years, he's grown more and more into this great red dragon. And behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. See, these 7 heads and 10 horns is this process of time growing from, that the Greco-Roman Empire all the way to America and the NATO and EU and its full military might. That's what the 7 heads, 10 horns is, in alliance with the red dragon, the whole America. And behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. And so now we'll go to what 13 and 2. No, hold on. Let's see. Revelation 13 and 2. Okay. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Alexander the so-called Great, he was known popularly for wearing a leopard skin hat, a leopard hat. So and his feet, that was the beginning of this beast. So the beginning of the so-called white race rulership in the earth was the Greek Empire. That's that goat prophecy of Daniel chapter 8. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. So we know Russia is that bear, and the feet is the end of a beast. The end of Esau's rulership going to be the Russians after they take down America, and then Yahushua going to take down Russia, the bear, and his allies. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and that's going to America military might. An animal wage war, especially a lion. Wage war with his teeth, his mouth, and that's an analogy for the military of this beast of this nation. And so they had a very strong military going to America, and also Russia as well. All of them, they are warmongering nation. And the dragon gave him his power. That for beast, the dragon, America gave that beast, because that beast was wounded to death, but it was healed through the dragon and that Treaty of Paris, Treaty of Rome. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So Revelations 12 and 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. You see, that dragon and that serpent is the exact same. That old serpent grew into that red dragon, called the devil, and Satan. So devil is false accuser, slanderer, deceiver. So this so the Most High is far out in how he put it all together. Right? He put it in code. So right here in this verse, he told you that he let us know that this great red dragon, the Roman Empire, they're the serpent from the garden. They're the devil because they lie and deceive. They're the father of lies. And he's Satan because his coming is after the working of Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. See, he deceived the deceiver, the devil the Bible speaks of. That's that wine of fornication of lies, and that golden cup of the whore, right? They have made the whole world drunk. All the nations drunk, but believe the lies of the great American dream, right? Which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. You see, because when Yahushua returned, that's why Trump in his first term, his first presidential term, he came up with what? He opened up the Space Force. Why you need to fight? They're the warmongering, blasphemous, profane people. Why would you want to fight? And who's in space? Who's in the sky? The so-called UFOs, the chariots. They know that the great return of Yahushua, quote unquote, the invasion, right? Yahushua is going to invade the skies that the so-called white man proudly has occupied, right, and stolen. He didn't create the sky. The so-called white man didn't create the sky, but he want to claim the skies, talking about this is his airspace, right? Don't fly over his airspace. What a devil, right? So that's what the dragon does. What? Fly in the sky. That's his military, his air force, and now the space force. And they're gonna Yahushua is gonna destroy and cast that devil out of the earth when he returns. John 8 and 44. One of my favorite precepts to put those two verses together. In the spirit, it says, "Ye are of your father the devil," and he's cursing out. Yahushua is cursing out these and condemning these wicked Pharisees, and their father, their spiritual father, is the devil. Because at this point, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were elect. They were hand selected by the Romans. It was no longer about the bloodline priesthood. It was about being selected by the Romans, because that's what he does. That's a key characteristic of the so-called white man, is selecting puppets that he handpicks that are sellouts to rule over another nation. He hand selects people of a nation to rule over their own people, but to have like the pastors today, they teach what doctrine from the so-called white man, and these seminary schools, right? The serpent, that's his curriculum that he gives the pastors to go and push upon our people. That's that plantation slave Christianity. So it says, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." See, the devil, so the red dragon, the serpent, the devil, the Satan, the so-called white man, he's the father of lies. And so there's no way around it. The truth nails him to the wall. Revelations 12:12. "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." Because he's going to continue a short space, that little horn, going to continue a little space, a little season. After he came out of those caves, after he came out of the bottomless pit, the Renaissance, the rebirth, and continue a little season until he gets taken out. So that's how you put it all together there. So Revelations 12, and we'll go up to verse 5. "And she brought forth a man-child," that's going to Israel, and then specifically, Mary within Israel was the one that had gave birth to Yahushua, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. This is Yahushua. "And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne." So you might have to wonder, like, what is that talking about? You see, it's the so-called UFOs. He was caught up. He got abducted, not wickedly. Esau, he loves to put evil, satanic vibration on the UFOs. Well, the so-called UFOs, the chariots. When Yahushua was caught up into Yahweh, he got abducted, spiritually taken away, and went back and ascended back and traveled to the dimension, the realm where Yahweh is, and sat on the right-hand side of the Father of Spirits, Yahweh. So it was very heavy. So Yahushua, he got caught up to heaven because of what? He's going to sit there and relax and wait and watch the prophecies unfold. Well, he's not relaxing, like he's not doing anything, but he's sitting there until all the prophecies fulfilled, because he was always about the prophecies. Revelation 19:10, I believe, says what? The spirit of Yahushua is a spirit of prophecy. So he's sitting there patiently awaiting the prophecies to unfold and come to pass. And then he get that great word from Yahweh to go ahead and return to redeem the elect of Israel and bring judgment upon the feet of the bear, the feet of the beast, the bear, the Russia and its allies after America gets taken down. So now we read it in the NLT. "She gave birth to a son who was to rule all nations with an iron rod." We know this is Yahushua. "And her child was snatched away from the dragon." You see, because it was the Roman Empire. The dragon is the Roman Empire, and he ascended. He was crucified, and then he was resurrected, and then he was snatched away, right? Because during the Roman Empire, because it was time for him to leave that time period that was ruled by the Romans, and that's how they got caught away. That's how the Most High took him away from the dragon, and was caught up Slakia. And excited about this. Let me see. So, and her child was snatched away from the dragon, Rome, and was caught up to Yahweh and to his throne. You see? And we read it, the other version, and the AMP down here. It says, and she gave birth to a son, a male child, who is destined to rule shepherd. That's the good shepherd right there, right? All the nations with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up to Yahweh and to his throne. So you have to understand that caught up means he was beamed up into one of those so-called UFOs, a chariot. And that's the same way the elect is going to get beamed up. They're going to get caught up into heaven as well. And Peter talked about it. You're caught up in heaven, and we shall ever be with the Messiah when he returns. So we're going to get beamed up. Those of the elect, Lord willing, we're of that number. I'm not sure. I hope I am. In the spirit, in the name of Yahweh Shai. So, that's who that ravenous red dragon is in Revelation. Is the so-called white man, the Roman Empire, and the descendants of the Romans today, the so-called white race, and all of their brethren across the four corners. So this video was edifying. The waters of the Hakodash Bashem Yahweh Shai. Another video. To the next video I say, Shalom.